providing the crown is yours. He's Grant Salsman. I'm Stefan Caray. On a Monday off day ahead of the I-70 series, a long homestand for the Cardinals. Big opportunity to continue their winning ways as they did in May here in the month of June. Grant, beginning with the Kansas City Royals, a team the Cardinals have already beaten once in a series on the road. This is going to be a really, really unique challenge for them because they have the Dodgers after and then the Blue Jays after the Dodgers. This might be the easiest series of the three.
Which is insane when you're talking about a team that I think is 3 or 4 games above 500 right now. But the Blue Jays are red hot. They've fought their way back from kind of a tough start, kind of like the Cardinals. They're a little reminiscent of that. And the Dodgers are obviously the Dodgers, but even the Dodgers are gettable right now. You know, it doesn't feel like they're at that super team level that we know they probably will be at some point. Obviously, the defending world champions. But yeah, this is a big one. I think there's a lot at stake in this. You know, it's your easiest matchup and the big rivalry. You know, you want to beat the Royals team, especially at home, and have that bragging rights that you won 2 series over them this season.
Yeah, a couple of notes on the Royals. They enter play at 31-29. That's good for 8 games back of first place in the American League Central Division. That is a tough division when you consider how good the Tigers have been, the Twins have been, and of course the Guardians perennially have been one of the best teams in the American League. This is as good of a chance as any for the Cardinals to continue to stack wins, but you look at this schedule for St. Louis, just 2 off days this month. One of them is today. The other is 2 weeks from today, the 16th, in between a road series of Milwaukee and the Chicago White Sox. You're going to have to get your wins where you can find them. And it was so important for them to have a good month of May when you factor in how difficult this month is going to be.
Yeah, that month of May, it felt like obviously they were hot. You know, they won, I think 9 games in a row was the number, but then they stabilized, which is important. You know, you plateaued high. It felt like what the Cardinals did. And obviously a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth, losing 2 games to the Rangers, who have been struggling so far this season. But the month of May got this team back in it. And now I think it's important. You know, they're probably not going to win 9 games in a row again until the All-Star break, but keep finding ways to win those series, win 2 out of 3 and stay, I guess plateaued is the right word. You know, stay up here instead of the big dips and dives, I think is a way to be more consistent. We've seen this team be pretty consistent throughout the month of May, you know, not just scorching hot. And then it's not been feast or famine, I guess I should say.
Well, you're seeing a similar team to the Rangers, at least in terms of the offensive struggles. The Royals have scored 194 total runs this year. That's good for second fewest in all of baseball. They're tied with the Pittsburgh Pirates in that category. Only the Colorado Rockies have scored less, 184 runs for the embattled Rockies, who, I don't know if you've looked, are on pace to have the worst season in baseball history. Now, the Royals certainly are not a bad baseball team. They pitched it very well. They've defended very well. They have young stars, but they need to bolster that offense, and boy, did they make a splash. You know, everybody was wondering, when is Caglione coming up? Well, he's going to make his debut, we assume, at Busch Stadium. Across a couple of levels this year, AA and AAA, 322, 15 home runs, 56 RBIs in 50 games. I mean, there are no slouches in the Texas League and, of course, in the International League where the Omaha Storm Chasers play. What are you excited about seeing with this guy, and how could the Cardinals limit him?
Yeah, I mean, being in Columbia the last few years, the Royals fans there are excited about Caglione. I mean, this guy is the real deal. He feels like as big of, like, think about the guys we've seen recently, like Paul Skeens come straight out, get drafted, then come to the MLB. That's what we're seeing, I think, a little bit with Caglione. This is a guy that I think will end up winning Rookie of the Year if he has enough time in the MLB. He's the most talented rookie right now, and this guy rakes. I mean, he is going to be really fun to watch. It is a little bit of a shame. I look at it as twofold. It kind of stinks that he's getting called up for the Cardinals series, but if you're a fan of baseball and you're going to the games Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and you say, hey, I got to see Jack Caglione's maybe first hit, first home run. I'm not saying, you know, it's hard to say this guy's going to be a Hall of Famer, but if he does end up to be one of the greats, you could say you got to see that happen. That's a pretty cool thing to be able to do. Like Cardinals fans can say they gave Skeens his first loss. If Skeens keeps going on this trajectory that we're all seeing him on, you could see the same thing with Caglione.
And Caglione was a two-way player in college at the University of Florida. The Royals, I think rightfully so, made the proper decision of focus on the bat. It is so difficult to hit and pitch at the major league level, not only because of injury concerns, but also because very few have been able to do it. Only one in the modern era has been able to do it, and he's the best player in the game. Mind you, he hasn't pitched in a year and a half, but still, we'll see how they assess that. This is a team that's desperate for power. They're desperate for base runners. They're desperate for hits, and Caglione will certainly provide that. Hopefully, he gets his major league start off to a great start, just not against the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Need to have a good series against the Royals, because when you welcome the Dodgers into town, it's become one of those teams where you're happy to win one of 3 games. Now, I don't think this Cardinals team are a team that can really be beaten quite as bad as some other teams have been by the Dodgers, but still, you want to stack wins, and I think this is a good opportunity to do so.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think this game tomorrow is really important. You know, it's Lorenzen against Palmante, but it's a chance for you to kind of see the 5th starter, which the Cardinals, it feels like they keep running into aces. You know, it feels like they keep running into 1s and 2s, and that's what you're going to get. Seth Lugo is now the probable starter on Thursday. I think that's just been changed within the last few hours and probably could change again. And then it's Noah Cameron on Wednesday, who pitched very well against you in the last series. So tomorrow's a big one for the Redbirds.
Yeah, it certainly is. You want to get off to a great start against a team that's right down the road, and you have your fans back at home. The Cardinals have been so good at Busch Stadium this year. Hope that can continue, and that you don't have a fall off, a plateau from your success in the month of May now on to the month of June. But it's important to remind you folks that all content here is provided by DraftKings. The crown is yours, and this show is powered by Gray Bar, your distributor for electrical and datacom needs. Get involved in the conversation. Tell us all about your questions, comments, concerns about the Cardinals and their long homestand here at Busch Stadium. Can't wait to see all the thoughts that you guys have. But Jack Caglione, the big story here for the Royals. For the Cardinals, Jordan Walker's still on the IL. Ryan Vilade got his first taste of Cardinals action yesterday against the Texas Rangers. This could provide a little bit more roster flexibility than Ollie has had over the past few weeks. What do you think maybe the look will be throughout the course of this week?
I think they're going to roll with what they have right now. You mentioned the roster flexibility. I just think, and fans are clamoring for, you know, the Sagaces, some other guys down there. Why weren't they going to get called up? Well, it takes a specific type of player you're calling up, like Barrio, who's been on the roster for the past few weeks, who you're okay with not getting at bats. You know, if Sagace's up here on the bench getting at bat once every 4 or 5 games and maybe coming in the 9th for his glove, that doesn't serve you any well. So it's kind of a weird, like, balancing act you have to do of a guy you're okay calling up who you trust to be in the major leagues, but also that you're okay with not playing. So that's the weird, like, the weird 50-50 you have to pull here. I think this roster's how we'll probably see it, barring injury, until Jordan Walker comes back.
And the lineup construction has been masterful by Ollie Marmol this year here in 2025. I would imagine, and not to speak for him, because I'm not a manager nor am I a GM, that this will open more opportunities for Nolan Gorman to get playing time, which is something that he desperately needs. He needs more at-bats. He needs more consistent at-bats. We'll see how they address that. You have Alec Burleson, who's been trying to get in there on the daily. With Walker out, you would assume Newt Barr can go play right, Donovan can play left, Victor Scott can play center, and then you can, you know, mix and match however you'd like the rest of the way. It's going to be really interesting to see how it all plays out for the Cardinals throughout this week against the Royals and then the Dodgers and then, of course, the Blue Jays coming into town. Now, talking more about Kansas City, they just really have not been able to string together a ton of wins over the last 10 games. They've won just 4 games in their last 10. They've spiraled into 4th place in their division, a team that really was a fringe playoff contender last year and have the young talent to do so, certainly have the pitching to do it. What do you see from them, and what can they do to help their chances against the Cardinals in this series?
Yeah, I think we say they've been struggling. They're 4th now in the division. They're 8 games back of the Tigers, who are one of the best teams in the MLB. They're still only 1 out of a wild card spot, and it's not Flag Day. Mike Claiborne likes to say is that's when you start standings look, but they're within striking distance of a playoff spot if the season ended today. I think what it comes down to with the Royals is hit, and it's going to be, it feels like another series for the Cardinals. Fans might get frustrated because they're probably not going to score a lot because this Royals staff pitching rotation as a whole is very good. Um, just don't let it. The Rangers kind of in the same boat as the Royals, struggled to score, and the Cardinals gave up a lot of runs in that series. I think 11 and 8 in the 2 games, so 19 over 3 games. Obviously, shut them out on Saturday. You got to find a way to take advantage of a team's weakness, and the Royals is they can't score right now. Keep that going. It's not walking, not making errors, and the rest should handle itself, really. So I think that is, it's a very silly key. Don't let them score, but don't give them opportunities, I guess I should say. Don't give them that walk. Don't give them that air that just extends that inning. And for a team that needs all the chances it can get, don't give them more.
Such a great point about them struggling to score. In the month of May, they scored 3 or less runs 18 times out of a total of 28 games played. 18 out of 28, they scored 3 or less. And they had a fair amount of wins because they pitched. Kind of like how the Texas Rangers have played, they've said, score 3, hold them to 2. That's the type of baseball the Royals have played. That's why they've hovered above 500. They could still be a wild card team. It's certainly going to be easier to be a wild card team in the American League rather than the National League. But it is just a tough division to try and gain ground in. You are playing a solid team pretty much every single night in your division, unless you have the White Sox, who have shown glimmers of hope for the future over the last few weeks. This is not a Royals team that's going to come by it easy.
No, I agree. And I think to your point kind of there is, while maybe your margin of error might be a little bigger if you're the Cardinals, the Royals' margin of error not being able to score is really, really small. So if they give you that chance, go make it a 3-4 run inning. Like, I think we've seen a really good job of the Cardinals as of late, like against the Rangers in that win. They scored a run without getting a hit. That's great. But I think what we haven't seen maybe the last week or two is that real crooked number, because this Royals team feels like a team. If you go put 4 up on their starter, the game's over. You know what I mean? Like, if you're up 4, if it's 4-1, 4-0 after the 3rd or 4th inning, they're not coming back from that. Things, it feels like in most games for the Royals, have to go kind of perfectly right. Starter goes 6, maybe gives up a run or 2, bullpen comes in and closes the door. They don't have a lot of room for error either. So I think that's a big opportunity for the Cardinals to pounce on in this 3-game set. Totally
agree. I think that St. Louis played an uncharacteristic game, kind of an uncharacteristic series. Their defense was not great. Their relief pitching struggled at times, especially in that final game against Texas. But it afforded you the opportunity to say, okay, we don't need to use Maton. We don't need to use Helsley in the final game of the series. Give some guys some extra rest. We'll concede this game, stay 7 games up. And a 500 road trip is not bad by any stretch. You play a 500 road trip against 2 teams that won World Series 2 years ago. And then the other, is the Baltimore Orioles, who have been one of the best American League teams in all of Major League Baseball over the past few years, just aren't this year. You're proud of the Cardinals for winning that first series, and it affords you the opportunity to lose the next one. Now, you don't want it to permeate its way into the rest of the games that you play, and they have a chance to kind of atone for that against the Royals, who they've already taken down once in a series. Yeah, I have a question for you. I'm curious about. So we kind of talked about Walker being on the IL. Do you think that, it's going to be Alec Burleson probably being the replacement in the outfield is what we've seen. Do you think that's a big defensive drop, or do you think that they're probably about the same value in the outfield? I don't think it's close. I think Walker has taken such tremendous strides defensively this year, and you've noticed it. I think that has been one of the main highlights of his season. Yes, the bat was starting to turn around right before he got injured, because of course it was, right? But defensively, he's played stellar. Outfield in right. He looks like he has totally taken control of that position. And Alec Burleson, sort of a first base DH type, they put him out there out of necessity. And he's done by and large a pretty good job. I don't know if his angles are the best yet, but he doesn't play every single day. So give him credit where it's due for the effort that he's made. But Walker certainly is the defensive right fielder that you would want in there if you get the opportunity to. Yeah, I think Burley's done a really good job at first. And Walker, to your point, has been
head over heels better than he was last season, the previous season. I really think the only time I see Jordan Walker, I'm like, ooh, it's kind of obvious he might not be a natural outfielder. It's just some of those balls, when he's running back to the track and it just looks like he's a little timid. He's not sure when the warning track will start, when that wall's starting, when he times his jump. So it's really only him moving far backwards, really ranging back, that I see him just look a little timid. Once your feet hit that dirt, it's like, oh, I have 2 to 4 steps before I'm hitting a wall, and some outfielders who've played it there their whole lives, they know exactly when it's happening, when to brace themselves. And then Jordan, it's still a little bit of a learning curve there, but that's really all I notice from him in the outfield that might not be up to par for a major league outfielder.
Yeah, he has certainly struggled on those line drives over his head over the last week and a half or so. I think that's something that has been noticeable. A couple of balls hit to the warning track at Busch that didn't quite handle in the last series against Arizona. But I think that everything that's hit in front of him, he's handled and has done a nice job with. So I'm ready to see him back in the lineup. I'm sure he'll be back sooner rather than later, and they're erring on the side of precaution with that 10-day IL stint. He's Grant Salsman. I'm Stefan Caray. And if you didn't already know, baseball season is officially underway. It's time to step up to the plate with DraftKings Pick 6. Think of DraftKings Pick 6 as your fastball right down the middle. It's the easiest way to play for cash and take a shot at a big win. Select 2 or more players and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat. Pick 6 is available in most states, including California, Texas, Georgia, Missouri, and more. Cash in your baseball knowledge. New players get $50 in Pick 6 credits instantly on just a $5 entry. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app and use code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports. For new customers to play $5, get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, Grant, only a little bit more time here on Cards Hub 365. A long, long homestand for the Cardinals. Ran into Jojo Romero yesterday, and he said, boy, is it good to be back at home for 10 days and get to kind of play where our feet are for a little bit, catch our breath. This could be a big opportunity for the Cardinals, I think, to show the world what team they are. Now, I'm not saying they haven't beaten great teams. I'm not saying they haven't risen to the occasion. But when you have a team like the Dodgers coming to town over the weekend, you're going to have a chance to show people who you are. And I think that's going to be a big motivating factor for St. Louis this weekend. Yeah,
I'm excited. That Dodgers series is going to be a lot of people there, close to capacity, I would think. I think the buzz, you saw the last homestand, there was a little more buzz. I don't know how many more people there were there, but there was more buzz for sure. Now I think you're going to see both kind of happen, more buzz, more people. This team is exciting. Why wouldn't you want to go see Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts too over the weekend? I know I'm going to try to get out to a game. I know you're back in town. It's your homecoming too. You got a nice home stand back here too, and you'll be in the the Cards Hub studio. But it's exciting. I think St. Louis, it has that buzz again, that maybe it hasn't had the last few years and definitely not the last few months.
That was a great point, Grant. I think that we're going to start to see the fans flooding into the stadium. Now, hopefully flooding is more of a metaphorical word rather than literal, considering the weather patterns expected over the next few days. But I think that if you don't buy in with the team 7 games above 500, contending in their own division against teams of this quality, the Royals, the Dodgers, and the Blue Jays, you're missing out on your chance to see some really good baseball this summer on both sides, in both dugouts. Now, it might be misleading because the Dodgers always draw well. They always bring good crowds regardless of what city they're in. But I think St. Louis is going to show, hey, we want to beat the best. And we'll find out. I think Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday will be a phenomenal appetizer for what plays out on Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, and it's a great, these next 6 games are going to be awesome because Dodgers fans, as you said, always travel, and Royals fans always travel to Busch as well. And you kind of mentioned the weather. I don't think the weather scares this team because if you have to do double headers, if you have to do where I know there was a game Liberatore got knocked out in the 3rd because of weather, the Cardinals are confident, I think, in their long relievers / starters that aren't in the rotation that they'll be able to get through double headers, maybe better than other teams. So we don't want the rain to happen, but it might favor the Cardinals if it does, and games are canceled or games are delayed or halted in the middle, you know?
Right. And you saw Michael McGreevy a few weeks ago. He
Yeah.
came in and as the 27th man, ate up 5 2/3 against the Mets, got the win. I mean, he was phenomenal. So you have some options down at AAA Memphis for that 27th man if you need to play a doubleheader. Now, the Cardinals have had more than their fair share of doubleheaders this year. We are certainly not hoping that happens. I know Mike Claiborne is hoping it doesn't happen. So we will see how it all plays out this week. But one thing is for certain, it's going to be a very, very fun week at the ballpark at Busch Stadium, week plus at the ballpark for St. Louis and their fans. Grant, you have any final thoughts after we've discussed everything about the Royals?
Yeah, I think this is a big series coming up. Big few games. Think a series win would do the Cardinals a lot of good for the month of June.
I agree. Had a great month of May. Need to continue down that path. Your opponents in the month of June are no slouches. You have the Royals, Dodgers, Blue Jays all at home, then Milwaukee on the road, the White Sox on the road, Reds back at home, then the Cubs for a 4-game series, and then the Guardians and the Pirates to close out the month. So, I mean, it is certainly a back and forth month for the Cardinals. They're going to have to adjust to some very, very good teams, and I have no doubt in my mind they can do it. For everyone here at Sports Hub STL, all content provided by DraftKings. The crown is yours. This is Cards Hub 365, powered by Gray Bar. He's Grant Salsman. I'm Stefan Caray. Signing off. Big week plus ahead at Busch Stadium.